People of the internet, today I will tell you a tale of two arrogant men that walked into the same room, had a conversation, and chaos erupted. But I will also tell you how this tale has a very strange admission and an even stranger ending. But before we get to the chaos, let me take you back to the beginning of the podcast, Bill Maher's podcast to be exact, and let's take a look at where this conversation began.
You call them your wife's parents. You don't say my in-laws?
So isn't that weird, my in-laws?
I don't know. I'm not trying to be your shrink. I'm just saying, why would you avoid that term?
I don't know, my wife's parents, they're not my parents.
I know. I'm just trying to start trouble.
I'm only trying to start trouble. You may be sitting there wondering, how did it get here? Well, let me tell you. We are only a few minutes in, and Andrew, as arrogant and obnoxious as he may be, he is not stupid. He starts off the podcast by trying to compliment Bill Maher on a piece he did, saying that my wife's parents even sent it to me along with several others because it was so good and inspirational. And you know what? Bill Maher didn't even hear that. He just heard something he could jump on and attack Andrew Schulz. Because as you will notice throughout Bill Maher's career, the one thing he always tried to do was be better than the person sitting across from him. You can't be better than Bill Maher in Bill Maher's world. So Bill Maher will tear down anybody by trying to start trouble.
Are you expecting a flood?
Bro, I keep dripping everything all over the floor.
No, I mean your pants. How much would it cost just to get that extra?
To have a little bit more pants?
Just to get that extra.
Am I getting style tips from you? You're wearing a fucking baggy turtleneck.
You're doing so well. Why would you not get the extra? What could it cost? I mean, just that extra
like the
bit.
Editor of Vogue coming onto this podcast
no, but
talking
I'm just
shit
saying,
about my pants.
Yes, it rained a little, but we're not going to need to.
What bigger man was wearing that shirt before you put it on today, Bill?
That's a sweater. You're right. I don't like sweaters, but it was cold here.
Ben Affleck left it with the house. Celtics green.
And wowzer, another insult. Bill Maher just throws up the bat signal and says to Andrew Schulz, come sit on Daddy Maher's lap because it's time to take a ride. Bill's ride. But Andrew doesn't put up with it. He shoots back with a couple insults of his own until Bill Maher makes a transition that seems like it could be a getting to know you session with Andrew Schulz. But wait, Bill Maher just goes ahead to do what he does best.
How long have you been married?
3 years.
3 years. Oh, so you're
3.
like almost a newlywed.
Yeah, it's early.
And how long did you go out before that?
That's a good question. Another 3, something like that?
Right.
I think around that. I might be getting some of this off, but yeah. We just had a kid. Kid's like a year and a month old.
You have one kid?
One kid, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's that like?
It's every single cliche you could ever imagine.
Right.
Like, it's,
life-changing.
No, it's literally every cliche. And as a comic, you're like shocked because your ego is like, oh, I have unique takes on everything. And then the only emotional reaction you have is the exact cliche that every other person has said about a kid.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has said that to me. Like, if you had a kid, Bill, you would, and I feel like I'm the first person who would look in the crib and go,
not for me.
Still nothing.
Yes, we already knew Bill Maher was heartless, but what is important here is this is the moment that Andrew recognizes it for the first time. Because look at that laugh. It's kind of like a ha-ha trying to cover, but I secretly am starting to hate you laugh. But it's only gonna get worse.
I'll tell you a story. I won't say who it is because I just won't. But it's somebody you would recognize, a name you would know, who was a known Lothario. Okay, and got married somewhat later in life, and was telling me once, this is a while ago, but he had little kids, and he said to me, we were in my old similar room to this, just a place to smoke and drink and be real, and he said, I was wiping Cheerios off my kid's chin the other day. And I thought to myself, this is better than any fuck I ever had. and about
There's that laugh again, and yep, I'm thinking the same thing you are right now.
and about 2 weeks later, the girl who I was with at the time called me almost in tears, and she said, "Bill, you have to get," and it was this guy from Stop Calling Me. So apparently it wasn't really bad.
Oh, he was still trying to get after it.
And it was my girl.
No.
Well, I'm just saying, the true story. I'm not
I mean,
saying
it's weird
who.
that he's thinking about fucking while he's wiping Cheerios off his
I'm just saying,
I find myself starting to agree with Mr. Schultz. And Bill, what are you just saying?
better than any fuck I ever had was someone undercut 2 weeks later
By trying to
when
fuck your girlfriend.
received this call. It's like, okay, maybe at that moment it seemed like it, but you know.
I want to know who this good friend of yours is that's trying to fuck your girl.
Oh, this was many years ago in a galaxy far away, and it could be anybody. And let's just leave it at that.
All right,
but
all right.
let them speculate. But it was funny to me. But I'm sure there are other people for whom wiping the Cheerios off the chin really is better than any fuck they ever had. And I feel sorry for those people because they obviously fuck badly.
Now, you may be wrestling with your mind right now, trying not to imagine Bill Maher fucking good. Just know we are right there with you. Just block it out. Move on. Bill Maher fucks good. Noted.
No, I'm kidding. Children are wonderful is what I meant to say.
Yes, of course, of course.
By now, you must be wondering, how could someone be more obnoxious than Andrew Schultz? Well, you obviously don't know Bill Maher, because Bill Maher sucks his own dick, because that's how much he loves himself. And Bill Maher just wants to talk about himself, praise himself, and lecture anybody that dare question him or talk about somebody other than himself.
I feel like if I had a kid, I would be walking on eggshells all
Constantly.
the time. What?
Constantly. That was the first sign that Andrew Schultz was getting tired of Bill Maher and his ego. Even Bill Maher was surprised that Andrew Schultz challenged him by letting him know that, yeah, you would be a pain to your kid constantly. Yes, this is true. You are exactly right. And Bill Maher is like, huh? And he says it again, constantly.
Meaning,
You mean you are?
No, I'm saying like you would, like,
I would, yes.
meaning like the things that you say, like the opinions you have?
The things I say, the things I do, you know, just, I mean, I wouldn't want to get caught masturbating.
Yep, and we're just going to go ahead and punt that one down the field.
Anything that's benign, which is,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a very benign thing. We don't treat it like it's a benign thing.
Yeah, but it's
You
pretty
know?
normal. I mean,
Yeah,
probably,
but for example, like no one would ever, if you were like upstairs and your wife said, honey, dinner, and I'm doing my taxes, I'll be right down. Nobody would say, I'm getting out of the shower, I'll be right down. Nobody says, honey, I'm masturbating, I'll be right down.
And thus begins a lecture on equal rights for men's masturbation, freedom, and communication. But let's not waste any more time on that, because we need to move forward. Because if you remember, I still owe you two things. 1, a strange admission, and 2, an unexpected ending. Now that we have laid the foundation of the tension, let's move on to the strange admission.
we still want to be the good guy, even though we're going to hurt that person.
I mean, I've had it in the past, one time I could think of, maybe twice, where I was kind of what you described. I really wanted out of this relationship. It was bad.
But you,
It
you didn't want to hurt her.
It just is hard. I mean, relationships are like wars. They're easy to get into and hard to get out of. And this was Ukraine. You know, I needed to like fucking just give him the Donbass region.
Did you catch that? Listen again.
I needed to like fucking just give him the Donbass region.
That's right. Bill Maher just admitted he ended a relationship with a man because when he first recounted his memory, he said him. And you knew he caught his mistake because immediately he rephrases it with she.
I needed to like fucking just give him the Donbass region, give her the Donbass region, and just
take whatever you want.
You know what? I mean, when
Take
you're
the
dealing
guest
with
house.
Putin, it just, sometimes Not that I agree with that, but it's
But let us not speculate any further, because I owe you one more thing, an unexpected ending. So now I will take you to the climax of the story, where everything came to a head and exploded.
This is where it gets frustrating, these arguments, is like, if we know we're hypocrites, we can't cry about it. We have to meet people where they are.
correct.
Right? So like, I mean, I'm sure you've seen on Twitter, like everybody's talking about, Israel, and like, it seems like there's waning support in America for Israel.
Oh, absolutely.
So here's an example, which you hear people say all the time, like obviously the politicians have no clue how to communicate, most of them, and they're just like, well, this is our closest ally. And then you get asked why, and they go, oh, they don't know, because they're just being told that they're the closest ally.
Well, closest ally in the Middle East.
Regardless of what it is. It's like, I think
that's very important. They're the closest ally in the Middle East because they're the only country in the entire Middle East that anyone in this country, these fucking hypocrites, would even survive for a week in. You wouldn't want to live.
I don't know if that's true anymore. Like the UAE, I've been to Abu Dhabi.
The UAE is not the Muslim world. If you're talking about
But they're
Dubai,
in the Middle East. That's what you're talking about.
Okay, but you're talking about a tiny, tiny percentage of what typical life is like in 60 Muslim countries. You're talking about a little enclave that they carved out so Westerners could come and spend their money.
Right.
We're talking about far less than 1% of the way life is like. You would not want to live even in a moderate country like Jordan, and your wife certainly wouldn't enjoy living there.
Yeah.
Okay?
You're making logical points.
Well, these are factual points.
Yeah, sure, they're factual. But,
they are.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It's like, I gave you another option that is true.
Well, but it's
I think, matter of fact, I would even argue that life is more relatable to the average American in the UAE or in Dubai than it is in...
Again, but it's a disingenuous argument.
Why is it disingeneous?
Because I just told you.
You said you can't live there, and I was like, here's another place.
Because it's not typical. I said the entire Middle East. So if I, so look, here,
okay.
Here's the thing. Here,
all right.
If I say, you have to move somewhere in America, and I'm going to throw a dart at a map with a blindfold on, and could you survive anywhere else in America where you absolutely could. You could live in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
You could live anywhere in America.
Yeah.
If I throw a dart at a map of the entire, all 60 Muslim majority countries, will you say you'll live there?
I could survive in every single one of them.
You couldn't.
How no?
What?
How could I not? I'm not a gay guy. I could live in any single one of them.
In Kabul, your wife would have to wear a head-to-toe burqa every...
That's on her.
Okay.
You're talking about me surviving. You're like, I could live very comfortably in every single country. Like, again, let's not move the goalposts. You're asking if I could live comfortably.
You could live with yourself knowing that that's how women are treated in your world.
I hate this moral argument. Like, we give a fuck about women around the world. Like, no, but this is like...
Yeah, you said you'd be happy.
This is such a bullshit argument.
It's not a bullshit argument.
No, I didn't say happy. I said I could live. You keep moving the goalposts.
Okay, cool. I'm sorry.
Let's stay on what you say.
I
could live easily in every single one of the countries outside of the wars that are existing. But you're saying in peacetime?
Easily?
Easily. You live easily.
You could easily live in Kabul, Afghanistan.
Is there war happening? Is the Taliban doing their thing?
No war. No war. So war's over.
War's over? I could kick it in Kabul for a month easy. Enjoying life. Now, am I doing stand-up every night? No. But could I take a little vacation?
I don't know if you're kidding with me.
I'm just telling you, I think that...
I'll give you two options. Either you're kidding or this is stupid.
This is the point where Bill Maher lost the argument, and Andrew had a choice to make. Was he going to insult Bill? Or was he going to do the unexpected? So now, I give you the unexpected ending, but settle in, because it's a slow burn.
Well, that's this pretentious ass shit.
It's not pretentious.
You're doing the thing that
it's not pretentious.
You are doing the
that
thing.
You could live in Kabul and be happy, or get by, or you could it'd be no big deal.
You're doing this thing that gets.
It's not virtue signaling to say.
I didn't say virtue signaling. But that is, if you don't agree with me, you're dumb, is why Trump is elected. And this is what Democrats do.
Yeah, but sometimes dumb is dumb.
Yeah, but people are dumb. So deal with that shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, stop acting like everybody's smart. Like, this is the problem, is like you have all these people that go to Ivy League schools and they're like, we know better than everybody else and we'll just tell you what to do and you guys are all stupid and I know you feel like you want this, but you don't really want this. And if you disagree with me, you're an idiot. Then all of a sudden they go, you know what? Fuck you guys. I'm voting for that one. It's very simple.
Yeah, that's true too.
So we can't speak down to people if we know that they're going to react emotionally. I guess what I'm trying to say is, even with the for example, the Israel conversation, right? So if I know people are reacting emotionally to this, right? Who is the burden on, if we have this deep connection with Israel, which I believe we do, right? I think the burden is on Israel to prove to the American people, who definitely they rely on for support in this conflict. I think that the burden is on them to communicate to the American people why it's advantageous to America to continue to support them. Like, and if they can't communicate a reason, you can't be upset at the American people for being confused about it. We have that same energy towards Ukraine. We go, wait a minute, they're getting how many $1 billion? Okay, over here, if eggs were cheap, I don't care about where you throw the money. But once eggs get expensive, I start going, where's the money going? $200 million going over there? So when economic times are very difficult here in America, or any country in the world, there's going to be some questions asked about where this money is going.
As there should be.
As they should be. I think it's a very normal thing.
Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Andrew is starting to soften Bill.
And unfortunately for Jews, when economic times turn shitty in countries, people start looking and they go, I think it might be their fault.
But why is that throughout history?
Because there's an ambient energy towards Jews. This is just my opinion, but there's ambient energy towards Jews.
What a great phrase, an ambient energy. You're so right.
Because it's not a bright light bulb.
Right.
It's a small one.
And just like that, Andrew has Bill hooked. If he wanted to, he could sell him a sham well. Hell, we could just set it and forget it.
It comes from the fact that, like, most people don't know Jews. They've never met a Jew. They have no fucking clue. They think Jews are like Jerry Seinfeld. They have no clue that there's Sephardic Jews. They have no clue that there's these African Jews. Like,
try being one in Kabul, Afghanistan.
It's probably difficult. So, like, they just don't understand what it is, right? They've never met one.
Right.
They only know the stereotypes. And I think they kind of almost, like, lock up Jews into the similar ilk as, like, the Rockefellers or the Vanderbilts. They think they're these elitist people. I don't think Jews even realize that. Because I think not all Jews are going, yeah, we're rich and we have all this money. They're just going, I think a lot of Jews in the Northeast are looking at the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts going, that's some pretty cool shit. I mean, Ralph Lauren definitely was like, hey, that WASP stuff, that's pretty cool. I want to do that. Right? There's like an envy of the WASPs in the Northeast from the Jews, I feel like, almost. I mean, I feel like they admire it. Anyway, the average person is looking at them as like these elites that they can't touch. And I think that there's like religious teachings that see like this separatism. It's like they're not trying to proselytize. Why don't they care if I go to heaven? Why? Like, my whole life is about trying to get as many people to go to heaven as I possibly can, but like they don't care. Like, what? I think it's just hard for them to get. And this ambient light that has this like kind of like these like negative stereotypes they own or control. And when the economy's good, I don't give a fuck. I don't care if you're sending US aid to do tranny plays in fucking Pakistan. I don't care. But the second I can't afford eggs, I go, no more tranny plays. And why does that group of people seem to have a lot of power?
Right.
And that light that's ambient gets bright.
That's not wrong. And you're right. I shouldn't say stupid.
Thanks, man.
You know, I mean, you're right. I get excited sometimes, and I blame the pot. But you're right. I can think it.
Yeah, you don't say it.
I'm still thinking. But you're right.
I tell
you shouldn't say. No, you're right. I shouldn't say it.
I
You're
tell
right.
this all the time, like.
But you wouldn't survive in couple. Anyway.
And there it is, the unexpected. Bill Maher actually apologized. And I know I told you this was a story of two arrogant men in a room, but maybe only one showed up today, and the other decided to meet the arrogant man in the middle and learn something. Because you know the other surprise ending about this whole podcast is I think this is the first time we've actually seen something authentic from Andrew Schulz. Because he wasn't being over the top. He wasn't pushing for drama. He was just trying to meet Bill Maher in the middle. And with that, we shall end with this.
I said this, I go, listen, if I say something that bothers my wife, I don't explain to her why she shouldn't be bothered.
Smart.
that I've done that for years, and it drives her fucking crazy.
You do. I've learned that about women too.
We learned that the hard way.
You did. We learned it the hard way.
What we do is we go, okay, I'm sorry that I made you feel that way.
Right.
We meet them where they're feeling. And I feel like so much in the discourse, it's like explaining with facts why the other person is wrong instead of understanding what they're experiencing and just feeling.
You know, I mean, this honestly is what I've been preaching. I'm sure you know.
Yeah, of
but
course.
like on my show.
That's why I'm here.